Hey guys, Sticky Domain, Deboo.com with a Deboo.com forecast update. This forecast update effective around 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on Thursday, August 31st, 2017. And we are now inside of 10 days to reach the climatological peak of the 2017 Atlantic tropical cyclone season, and the Atlantic has kind of gone into a hyper mode. Start you off with the still image showing you a large-scale gale up in here just to the south tip of Greenland, and the season first hurricane force low developed yesterday for the North Atlantic. We have the remnants of Harvey over in here, back over at the Gulf Coast. We have another tropical cyclone that's likely to make landfall on Baja California, and we're also monitoring an area for development, area of low pressure to develop down in here in the Bay of Campeche. The National Hurricane Center has put a 20% chance of development on possible Jose coming within the next 5 days. It looks like that those chances will start to increase over the next 24 to 48 hours, and it looks like the tail end of Harvey is going to pull up an area of low pressure into the Bay of Campeche. Now, if you guys have been following along since the start of the season with us on Deboo.com, you know that we've talked about two types of pattern over here in the Western Caribbean. We've talked about round the corner, and that's an area of low pressure or an area of spin getting down in here towards Costa Rica, and then spinning up into the Gulf of Honduras, rounding the corner of the Yucatan Peninsula into the western Gulf of Mexico. We also talked about that early season hook pattern, where a lot of times a front can come through and hook up an area of low pressure to develop in the western Gulf of Mexico. This looks like a combination of the two, round the corner and a hook. We'll show you that here in just a few moments. And then it looks like all eyes are going to be on what looks to become Hurricane Irma. That's over here in the right-hand portion of your screen. Now, here's the this morning's visible of that hurricane force low and this large-scale gale in here. Now, for our surfing community, or for the non-surfer community, bear with us a few moments. We're going to run through a swell breakdown for our surfers. And right now, this is producing negative swell production for East Coast. Whatever swell that it has developed is now on the buoys. We'll give you the buoy breakdown here in just a few seconds. But this is spinning like this, so that's creating westerly swell. And then this is spinning like this, and it's creating westerly swell. When we look at the latest sea state analysis out of NOAA showing seas have increased in excess of 35 feet with this system. This qualifies for a Deboo.com major swell event. Unfortunately, arrows mean things, and if you can look closely, you'll see that there's a red arrow orientated from the southwest to the north-northeast. That's the swell production angle of that. So although seas have increased to 36 feet, that swell angle is now aimed at Newfoundland up in here and wrapping around, going to the Texas Tower buoy that is just east of New Jersey. Looks like this buoy has peaked overnight last night at around 7 to 8 p.m., had gotten into double digits, around 11 feet east-northeast, and is now down to 5 feet at 11 seconds out of the east-northeast. That tells us that the swell pulse from that system has now passed the Texas Tower buoy east of New Jersey. Moving down to the South Hatteras buoy. South Hatteras buoy looks like it peaked yesterday afternoon at around 8 feet and is currently down to 5 feet, 11 seconds out of the northeast. Moving over to the Paul West Bermuda buoy. Now, this buoy is still on the rise. This buoy is the indicator buoy for Dominican Republic, PR, and the Virgin Islands. The buoy now is approaching 10 feet with swell out of the north-northwest at about 12 to 13 seconds. Switching you over now to the East Canaveral buoy. East Canaveral buoy now starting to pick up on that east-northeast swell, 4 feet, 11 seconds. Unfortunately, the buoy has had a hiccup and is no longer showing swell direction at the moment, but we can only assume that it's out of the north-northeast or east-northeast, and I say east-northeast because of the trade wind push. Now, unfortunately, the East Hatteras buoy went adrift about a couple of months ago, so we're not able to view the data on that. The East Hatteras buoy would have been a good indication of what Northeast Florida might expect, but it looks like that swell might bypass us. There's nothing showing on the Gray's Reef buoy at the moment. Moving you over to the 24-hour swell forecast, you can see 10 to 12 second northeast swell periods moving past the Outer Banks now. I did get a message that the Outer Banks had some really, really good surf yesterday and today. Again, that Texas Tower buoy showing that pulse that's coming through there. Here's the 48-hour swell forecast, and you can see the swell starting to spread out now in a fan-like shape. Now, if you saw our post the other day, we talked about how it's an early sign for fall. When you start getting swell forecasts that look like a turkey plume, it's almost time for fall. And with this coming early, season's first hurricane force low in here, it presents some exciting times ahead as we go through the peak of hurricane season. Here's the 72-hour swell forecast. So Dominican Republic, Bahamas, Puerto Rico, and Virgin Islands. Here comes where your pulse is, and we'll be watching for the max on the Paul West Bermuda buoy to see where that is. It typically needs to get in over 10 feet to send you guys a solid bump, but then you have what's going to be Major Hurricane Irma coming at you from the east, guys, and prayers are going to be with you as you guys walk through the forecast. Switch you over to now the 96-hour swell forecast, and you can clearly see the swell from that hurricane force low now spreading all the way out towards the East Atlantic, and then down here in the middle of your screen, this is swell coming from Irma. We'll show you the wind model here in just a few moments, guys. There's going to be several days that will be open for favorable winds, some offshore winds, but then things look like they're going to go downhill, and it's going to go strong onshore from the Outer Banks through Florida as it appears that Irma may be headed for the Gulf of Mexico. Looking at the latest 72-hour wind wave forecast out of the National Hurricane Center. National Hurricane Center showing seas increasing to excess 35 feet with what is likely to become Major Hurricane Irma in about 4 to 5 days. Taking a look at the latest satellite imagery of the Central Atlantic, we have Irma right over here in the right-hand portion of your screen. And if you're one of our followers, you know we always like to look ahead of where the models suggest the storm is going. And if you look right in here, notice how it almost takes a circular look in here, and then there's another one right in here, and then there's another one kind of right in here. Now, those are some leftovers of a tropical wave that was moving through here. So the idea is that Irma, which is what's forecast out of the National Hurricane Center, is going to lift up north towards the 20 line and then drop back down south and get in here to this corner near the 15 line. Here it is, latest out of the National Hurricane Center, again showing that lift towards the 20 line and then that dip back to the southwest into this corner near the 15 line. And again, if we go back and look at the satellite imagery, you can see how there appears to be a hole right in here. Now, there's a split between the Euro and the GFS overnight. The GFS wants to send it out to sea. There is some evidence in the satellite imagery that suggests that there's an outside shot for that. But it looks like that Irma will cross over the Caribbean and head towards the Gulf of Mexico. Still lots of time to watch. We'll show it to you here in the latest wind model forecast. Again, here's this, what was a hurricane force low that is southeast of Nova Scotia now, and you can see because of the wrap like this, this is westerly swell production. We've got Irma in here and high pressure, so this is starting to produce swell to come this way, but we have the negative effect of this westerly component working against it. We'll advance the model for you going into Friday, and you'll see that IRMA starts to move and head off towards the west. Saturday, we could start seeing some early signs of IRMA start to show up, guys. We'll take a little closer look, so you'll have to stay tuned for the updates, but watch the winds here along the coast here. Now we get into a southerly flow as another gale's going to develop off the mid-Atlantic, increasing the winds and the pressure gradient there. Move you into Sunday, and you can see right off into the Cape, that's a strong southwest and then southeast flow into the Cape there, so increasing surf conditions there as well into Monday. Things start to settle down here along the coast here. So by the time that this gets to here, there should be swell showing up here with light winds along the coast, except for some onshore flow down in here towards South Florida. Move you into Tuesday, and you can see offshore southwest flow, strong onshore flow from the outer banks or out of the southwest, out of the outer banks up into Nova Scotia. Move you into Wednesday, and here's where things start to get going downhill, guys, as IRMA, this is the European model, moves IRMA up in here near and under Puerto Rico. This is bad news, guys, bad news. And I got my fingers crossed that this is wrong, but it doesn't look like it at the moment and the synoptic pattern that we're in. But look over here in the western Gulf of Mexico. That looks like Jose right there. So we had a chance a couple of days ago at Harvey and Irma off the East Coast. It now looks like Irma and Jose in the western Gulf of Mexico. Advance the model for you into Thursday, and then this is where some iffiness starts to come in. Longtime followers know that the island of Hispaniola can become a storm killer, and so we'll be watching for that as well. But look what's happening over here in the Gulf of Mexico. Although it may not be tropical at this nature, look at this strong flow coming in here out of the north and then wrapping up and sucking up towards the panhandle. Move you into Friday. That begins to settle down. Now this is a key. Look at this. The closeness between these two. Strong onshore flow. Likely landfall in here across Cuba into Saturday. And look how far west the European model is pushing IRMA at the 10-day mark. Incredible east-southeast flow in here towards the Outer Banks, down in here through South Florida. That's all we got for you for now, guys. Stay tuned for the next update. Follow us on our social feeds for real time. Stay tuned.